Trauma flashbacks not always come with specific memory, vivid visions, and realizing what's going on with you and what trauma you're reliving now. It's only one of the ways how they can manifest in your life. Some people, unfortunately, are going through trauma flashbacks often without even realizing it, and that's what I want to cover in this video. How you can understand that you may be experiencing a flashback now, and what can you do about it. Because for me, understanding this, how it works, understanding what I was going through was a huge help in my inner healing journey. Without understanding this, it probably would take me much more time to arrive to certain changes. And I would say, even after understanding how it works, still I couldn't become aware at one moment about all sorts of flashbacks I was having. And here I'm talking about emotional flashbacks, when you may be experiencing, like your body, your emotion may be reliving some traumatic past here and now, when the situation is completely unrelated, or just some reminder, some trigger, or some memory that put you in this flashback. How can you understand it? One of the most important signs is very intense emotional reaction that feels like a bit maybe disproportional to what happens. And that's one of the things, is when you realize that your emotion may be a bit disproportional. In some cases, unfortunately, you don't realize, because the trigger that gives you this emotion, your brain sees it as really that strong and that important. So two ways to see it. If this you don't see, for example, but you see that sometimes your emotions are that strong that you completely lose control, or that you do something, you make some choices, some actions, or you say something under strong emotional wave, and then you maybe regret it, or then you making something that is counterproductive or bad for you in any way. This could be the other thing. And emotions can be very different. It's not only like anger, fear, or some emotional pain, sadness, like depressed feelings. It can be also guilt and shame that sometimes even more difficult to spot. But I will talk about all of them a bit, so maybe you can have a better idea how to understand that. Yeah, very often anger could be one of the flashbacks, or disproportional fear. And for me, actually, one of the things that were happening were panic attacks. Many years ago, I was experiencing panic attacks, and they are not often discussed as a sign of the flashback. They not always are, but sometimes they are. And a panic attack is an example of having fear that very difficult to connect with something that happening here in the present, because the kind of terror that you feel inside the panic attack is almost like it's some survival threat, like almost you're about to die, or like you're going crazy, or you can't control this. And people who went through this, they understand how I feel, and also they know that when the wave ends, they can go to feeling of shame. They feel like, what was this? Like, why I was acting like this? There is nothing to cause this kind of reaction. And this is something that is well known, it's studied and it's treated. But other emotional reactions are, maybe they're not, I think maybe people not given too much attention to them, and people just blamed to be too emotional or crazy or this kind of things. And other reactions is when something hurts you so much, then, for example, you maybe start crying, there's very strong emotional pain, and you just can't stop. And for me, one of the recent moments was when I catched this, when I was crying, and I felt this physical feeling of crying that kind of brought me back the memory of very early childhood age, when you crying, you're almost screaming, and you're already almost losing your voice, and you're so tired from this crying. And I physically in the body, I felt it, that this is child's crying. It's not me. It's not me, like the woman here and now. I'm reliving something that's not connected to the reality. And with the awareness that I had, I just told me like, this is a flashback. That's my body is living now in, like, I don't know, 4-year-old or earlier, somewhere there, not here. And this awareness by itself already gave me so much power to heal these specific events. But it was not the first time. I was going through this many times in the past also, and many years ago, I think it was when it was the first time of my awareness how something can trigger the trauma response. It was inside a relationship, and I had some conflict, some fight with my boyfriend. I remember this very emotional, strong feelings, what was happening to me, how I was explaining to myself, and then suddenly it came to me, because I already on my healing journey, so I had some awareness. It came to me that these feelings are the story behind these feelings was the story of a child again, and it was about a relationship when I was very young, and these feelings, this pain, were related to what my mother was doing. I noticed it only because of what I was telling myself inside about these feelings. It's the same story I already knew about me in the past. And then I start kind of separating these things, what was happening in the moment where this conflict happened in reality, and the feelings that were coming. The other type of these flashbacks can be when something small, like someone told you something, maybe raised the voice a bit, or maybe was a bit annoyed or something. There was not real strong aggression, but suddenly you can feel some kind of shutdown inside, some freeze. You go away, you don't want to talk anymore, you feel insulted, offended. Like the reaction could be very strong. Maybe you're not arguing, you don't have this anger, you don't scream, but there is another trauma response, is this freeze response. And about freeze response, I had the whole video, because this is a very common problem. People who had traumatic childhood, they couldn't develop healthy fight response, and flight was also not easy, because sometimes there are nowhere you can go, and that's when freeze we start using. And freeze is quite strong disconnection with real feeling and emotions that you may be feeling. Another thing that I mentioned is shame and guilt, and the fear that you may have when, for example, you're writing some message, you want to ask something, or maybe you replying or you say no to something. So you need to do something kind of that some person may not like, or you're not sure how they perceive it, and you can feel very strong an anxiety in your body and some kind of shame that it's very difficult to just to say it, or maybe to send a message, or maybe to publish something on social media, this kind of things, that when you're visible in some way, when you express yourself in some way that you're not sure how it will be perceived, you have the wave of anxiety or strong shame. Sometimes we can go to this toxic shame after we have maybe more open conversation with someone, we were more vulnerable, or sometimes after publishing something. And this is also usually some kind of a flashback of this childhood vulnerability, if you were shamed a lot. And this is also one of my stories. I was shamed and criticized a lot by my grandmother, and for me, I developed a very strong inner critic that was judging everything I'm saying and doing, and for a long time I didn't realize what was this. Because strong emotions, when you lose control, or when you become very angry, you screaming, maybe breaking things, or when you crying like a child, when you can't stop, or when you have a panic attack, this attracts your attention, this you can see. But this guilt or shame that frees you, or like reaction of something external that completely frees you, we don't always realize. And the thing is that at some point of our lives we may have almost all of these things. If there were really a lot, then most of the emotions were stuck, frozen, and triggers. There could be a lot of triggers because our kind of the real pull inside is always towards healing, towards our wholeness, and that's why all the triggers, they attract our attention to everything that's unprocessed, to all the strong emotion. But without realizing, sometimes we're just trying to control ourselves. We're trying to become less sensitive, less emotional. We avoid doing things that make us feel bad, or we're trying to push through stuff without feeling these emotions. And if we don't see what's going on, we don't really heal what is inside. And the main thing to do that can help with healing is understanding what it is. Accepting the fact that if your anger is disproportional to what happens, if you're losing control, if you crying a lot and it looks like the reason was not the one to kind of cause you so much pain, and especially look inside this pain, what it is about, because there could be different feelings like I can't change anything, or no one loves me, or no one's care, or everyone hurts me, or people betray me, or someone betrayed me, someone left me, someone ignored, someone kind of like this helplessness, hopelessness, fear. When you ask yourself more questions and you find in this the main the root of this pain, the root of this problem, what's about, then it can give you the answers, what it is. What is the story of your childhood that caused this kind of unfinished, unprocessed pain that need to be healed? The same, yeah, with fear, with anger, everything. With shame and guilt and freeze, there usually still be some pain behind when you go through them. And sometimes when you go inside these feelings, one of the things that is there is that you were not allowed to be as you are, kind of it's like you get used that you need to kind of earn some right to live, to exist, that you need to adapt to everything, to always be prepared for certain threats, from danger from outside. And this kind of shame and guilt, it's trauma. There is trauma of rejection a lot, that you're not accepted as you are, that you are threatened if you express your emotions, your needs, your desires, and there is some feeling of brokenness behind it. And I'm telling you, this helplessness. And what is usually helping here when you go to this feeling, especially if the memories comes, when you finally realized how much was taken from you by certain situations, how much was lost of your contact with yourself, of your strengths, of your power. And if you go deeper to this feeling, when you don't judge yourself for your weakness, for your emotions, for not doing something, when you're just allowing and observing, at some point finally anger can come under these feelings. Anger for what happened, anger towards certain people, towards situation, anger towards your inner critic that doesn't let you live fully, freely, that always controlling you, anger to some other stuff. And through anger we start gaining access to our power. And some time ago I published a video about anger is your power, and how if you learn to suppress the anger, or if you can't control it, how you can reconnect with it to getting the power and the energy that was lost. If it's your thing, it could be very, very helpful. Also, when there is shame and guilt, there is usually very strong inner critic, and in this case, self-acceptance and self-love are very healing, because to go through the healing, we need two things. It's awareness to see what's really going on, what happened to us, instead of just reacting and suffering, and self-compassion, self-love. We need acceptance to be with what is, to process this feeling, to change the inner dialogue, to connect with all the parts of ourselves that we were rejecting, to integrate everything that we kind of hide, suppressed. And through this, we're reconnecting, we're healing, and we're changing. It's a very long journey. It also comes kind of like in layers. You can heal one part and something else come, or you're feeling better for some time, but then you're recovering something else. So if you already worked on some stuff, but it's still coming again, it's not a failure. That's how it is. Kind of our psyche opens only what we can process now. And if you notice that what you're experiencing now, and maybe you have sometimes these flashbacks, it's sometimes maybe difficult for you to deal with your emotions, that maybe you don't accept yourself enough and you're going through all these feelings, I really recommend you to subscribe to my channel, because most of the content that I publish is very helpful on this inner healing journey, on developing awareness, on developing self-acceptance, and kind of all the skills that you need on processing that emotions, or challenging your belief, on integrating your shadow parts. By watching these videos, by using these tools, you can start reconnecting with yourself and getting kind of returning to your wholeness. And that's also the idea that I put in my book that I recently published, The Return from Fragmentation to Wholeness, where I explain how the fragmentation works on a mental and an emotional and an energy level, and I give the 100-day structured program that you can go through to integrating the rejected and fragmented pieces, to process the emotions, to heal yourself, to change your beliefs, to change your view on yourself and relationship with yourself and relationship with life. And everything that I'm giving there, I'm also using all these practices for myself that I'm finding very helpful. They support me in different periods of my life. I'm always getting results from it. And if it's something that you're interested in, you can check. The book is available on Amazon now. And if you have any question, you can leave me a comment below. And thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.